let's get this over with. I mean, where do I even start with this? To be perfectly frank and honest. Well, let's start this thing out like how it started us out. When I first booted up the game, it starts you off with no tutorial, no how-to videos, no ways how to show you how to play the game other than it throws you into the middle of a game. It took me almost half the actual match to figure out how anything worked. Try imagine me, a oblivious soccer fan, I don't know what none of the terms mean. So when you pull it up and you see all these different terms and actions, it makes no sense. But when compared to something like Mortal Kombat, everybody knows what a kick is. Everybody knows what a punch is. That translates well. But when it comes to stuff like passing kick, aggressive kick, shoot, volley, and all that, and none of that stuff is explained, it really is hostile to a brand new player. It instantly off-put me when I was trying to play this game. Oh, it really doesn't hurt that when you try to control the people, you're not controlling people, you're controlling hovercrafts. These things are so floaty, so slippery, and have no real friction on the ground, it's tough to get a grasp of these people. Now, when it gets to the intro game to the real game, there's actual slight differences. Because when you get to the main menu, ask what the settings you want. And some of those settings actually change from when you play the intro game. Because in the intro game, your control of the character changes where the ball goes. But in the main game, that's either automatic or manual. I'm not sure. And on top of that, it really does just feel way too floaty. Everything is either automatic or you feel like you're just trying to guide boats on a river. Oh, and that's his career mode. Let's actually talk about one thing I was actually slightly excited for when I saw it. Manager mode. Believe it or not, past manager modes in past games, both wrestling and football, were actually kind of nice. It gives you a nice perspective as well as a mini game that you can play in between games. But this wasn't really a mini game. This was basically Charts, the video game. And it was just a log. And again, with no tutorials to go through, nothing to really explain what's going on, I have no idea what I'm doing. I have no idea who these people are. All I see is numbers and graphs of what they're worth, who they're working for, who's worth on my team, what's their happiness level. Stuff that is not explained to you at all. This game is very, very, very non-new player friendly. But on the flip side of this, with the pros, there is a solid game here. With mastering controls and knowing the defense and offensive when it comes to certain team and certain players, it can be a fun time. But to new people, they really need to sit down and actually concentrate on this game. Thanks to my schedule, I don't have that time. And I mean, it requires a lot of time and practice from learning all the plans, the players, trying to get the best team, trying to get the best deals, and so on and so forth. You're trying to build the best team that you're trying to look after, the one your favorite team is. And it does require a lot of time, practice, and know-how. I can see a good game here, I just don't have the time to sink into it to make it a good game. I don't want to look up the several upon several tutorial videos I need to watch to get this game down. For new players, it is a work, it is a log, but you still get your money's worth out of it. And for returning players, they already know the ins and outs, and it's actually a decent game. The only real bad thing, no matter if you're returning or not, is that the graphics are kind of bad. After knowing a lot about body language, you start seeing the subtleties in body movements, and you start really seeing how robotic motion capture can be. Your player 5000 with very rigid motions. When you see someone twist an arm, you don't see the subtlety of the forearm twisting, you literally just see an action figure just twisting the wrist. You don't see anybody running down the road and seeing the shoulders and chest move the running, you just see the pivot actions happen at the shoulders. And when it comes to the motion capture, that's really apparent. You don't see the subtle movements. As well as the textures aren't bad. Now sadly, I did not get any footage of my game working properly. All the footage I got is of my game misbehaving. And it was misbehaving bad, because around every 45 seconds, half the screen would flicker yellow and blue, really messing up my vision, and I couldn't really play it for long. I can see a good game here, I just want to actually play it. Now I know that My Ultimate Team and the multiplayer are big for these games, but I am not touching those with a 50-foot pole. Because I know the multiplayer for these games are cutthroat. They will either disconnect or basically quit the game the minute you score one goal out of a supposed 90-minute match, which is usually around 30 minutes. I know a lot of people that play these games regularly, and I can see how vicious the multiplayer can get, so I am definitely not giving that a shot. And of course, just like last week, we have to nick one of the core rules of the challenge, strictly because this game is endless as well. Of course, you can become the world championship and then just start it back over again. There's no real story mode and no real big mode to beat. It's just another game that's meant for you to play it over and over and over again. And the single player is mostly there for you to play by yourself, when the internet's down, or when your friends are over and you can play on the same console. With all that bickering aside, there is a solid game here. And with that being said, what is the final rating of the game? It's kind of a weird rating. What I'm going to have to give it is a 2.5 out of 5 with a little asterisk on the end. If you're a new player, that's actually going to be reduced down to a 1. But if you're a returning player, it stays at the 2.5. Well, my final comments really being, there is something here, you just need the time and energy to dedicate to it. If you have the time and energy to dedicate to it. So, another game's in the bag for the challenge. Huh. Well, that being said, I want to run play next week. Ooh! I'll see you guys next week!